Please adjust your sitting posture according to the 7 meditative postures of Arochana. Think, all sentient beings have been my mothers. All sentient beings have been my mothers, not just once, but for numberless times. All sentient beings are as kind as my mother in this life. Even though all kind mother sentient beings want happiness and do not want even a small suffering, due to mistakenly engaged with objects of adoptions and abandonment, they do not experience any happiness but suffering. In our minds, sincerely generate loving kindness towards all kind mother sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if all kind mother sentient beings were to have excellent happiness and the causes of excellent happiness that are virtues. May they have excellent happiness and its causes. I'll cause them to have excellent happiness and its causes. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so. Next, we generate compassion towards all suffering mother sentient beings by thinking, how nice it would be if all mother sentient beings were free from all suffering and the causes of all suffering that are non-virtues. May they be free from all suffering and its causes. Our freedom from all suffering and its causes. Lama deity, please bless me to be able to do so. Next, we generate bodhicitta. First, we ask ourselves, who should take the responsibility to free all mother sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and lower realms? I should take the responsibility to free all other sentient beings from the sufferings of samsara and lower realms. Even though I should take the responsibility, I do not have the ability to place them in the state of perfect complete enlightenment now. Who has such ability? Only those who have achieved the state of perfect complete enlightenment have the abilities to do so. Therefore, for the sake of all other sentient beings, by all means, I will achieve the precious state of enlightenment. Next, we generate all-encompassing yoga mind, the aspiring conventional bodhicitta that thinks, for the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. These transform into the aspect of a white hive of a complete mundis at one's heart. And the ultimate bodhicitta, which is one's mind becoming one taste with emptiness, all phenomena lack inherent existence. These transform into the aspect of a white five-pronged vajra on top of the mundis. Next, we meditate on emptiness for a short while. The self and the aggregates do not exist as inherently one. If they were inherently one, they would necessarily establish as partless one. If they were partless one, they are following thoughts. It would be pointless to assert a self. The self would become many. The self would subject to production and disintegration. It would be unreasonable to remember past lives. Karma one has done would go wasted. One would meet with karma one has not done. Therefore, the self and the aggregates do not exist as inherently one. The self and the aggregates do not exist as inherently different. If they were inherently different, they would necessarily establish as unrelatedly other. Therefore, the self and the aggregates do not neither exist as inherently one or nor as inherently different, and thus empty of inherent existence.
매주도 주도 퍼주죠. 나는 시도 무슨 시와 관리지는 더 도마반다 통해서 신비 무엇을 뭐지 다 내상고서 주제니가 내상고서 제가 이 신제단계 대화중이다. 그래야 더 이, 지도이 사통식 수다고 한 내상고서 제가이나 더 뒤에서 계속 이거까지 보냈습니다.
As I always say, it is important to conjoin the roots of virtue of our three doors with the practice of six perfections. Thus, to conjoin these roots of virtue with the practice of six perfections is as follows. The first one is generosity. The nature of generosity is a mind of giving. These 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma is for the arising of happiness and purifying the suffering of all sentient beings. If I engage with this, with the manifestation of this mind, then these roots of virtue will be conjoined with the practice of generosity. Next is morality. The nature of morality is the minds of abandonment. During these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma, I will properly abandon my physical and verbal misdeeds without letting them manifest. If I engage in this manner, then these roots of virtue will be conjoined with the practice of morality. Next is patience. The nature of patience is an undisturbed mind. During these 2 hours of listening, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma, I will patiently accept any difficulties and hardships of my body and my mind. If I engage in this manner, then these roots of virtue will be conjoined with the practice of patience. Next is joyous effort. The nature of joyous effort is a mind enthusiastic for virtue. I will joyfully and enthusiastically engage in this virtuous activity of listening, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma. Next is concentration. The nature of concentration is a mind that single-pointedly focus on virtuous object. I will single-pointedly focus my mind on this virtuous activity of listening, contemplating, and meditating on the Dharma without being overcome by distraction and negative discursive thoughts. The last one is wisdom. The nature of wisdom is a knower that thoroughly distinguishes phenomena. I will properly and unmistakably understand the words and meanings of the Dharma that I listen to, contemplate, and meditate on. If I engage in this manner, then these roots of virtue will be conjoined with the practice of wisdom. Set a good motivation. For the sake of all mother sentient beings, I will achieve the state of enlightenment. For this, I will listen to the holy teaching and practice accordingly in order to benefit sentient beings. So next, the outline is the reason for the arising of great fear. There are two verses under this outline, the reason for the arising of great fear. Verse 43 and verse 44. One who is being led today to the spot where his limbs will be mutilated, will be petrified, with dry mouth, sunken eyes, and so forth, his entire appearance is transfigured. One need to mention the tremendous despair when stricken with the disease of terror, being clasped by the frightful physical forms of the messengers of Yama. So there is a reason for great fear to arise, and the relevant verse is verse 43. It says, one who is being led today to the spot where his limbs will be mutilated, will be petrified. So, in the past, when those who break the king's rule, then they will be led to a place of punishment. So where when they arrive at this place, their punishment is their limbs will be cut or will be mutilated. So for those beings who are being led to the spot where their limbs will be cut, then they will be in great fear, and then they experience great suffering. So to the extent that their face look different, will look different, and their body will look weak, and they even tremble and even felt in fear, who will save my life.
그래서 다 디바 차칭 거 사나와 다 디바 차칭 거서 랭이 봐서 와이나 하나다 까봐 그냥 신지 지다 신지도 뭐 한다 와 단치다고 신지 변화 그러다 신지 번하게 예 넘버 대비 신화 차고들이 넘버 띄는 거와 계속적인 넘버 근데 넘버 신화 차고 띄네 그러니까 언녀와 냐면은 막 간다 아 능이 그 진체 봐봐 로 동자다 아 네. 까발라 tani dungi nyonga ga lengi bata tani ma chilo ga te kela chaba ta tani gi nji sirwa tani gi chilo de rwa ta dunga tsene ba tani nyonga ga chilo de tani gi ki kala kala nasa de nasa rwa dile tepe ajang dile shina sawa cha sarwa e chawsa de tan jiba chimbo ta dile jiba chimbo che gwa da ta me chu kusa ko tarwa ta dingi ni tani jiba chimbo che yare ta kong jobo chiba che yare ni ma chila chiba che da ta sawa re 그녀와 냐면 들라고 무슨 디바 사침복 기다린 게 맞추거든. 단 양자 그 문팀 주 맞춰 녀버지야. 이 맞춰 되는 거야. 어떤 들라 다시나 들 하지 아세요. 그러니까 와
Here is an example that if one were to break the king's rule, then one will be go through the punishment of punishment. That is, their limbs will be cut. So, and however, if their limbs were cut, then their punishment is considered over. So they will not need to going through the punishment again. So using this, so in relation to this example, a great fear will arise. Then verse 44, so one need to mention the tremendous despair when stricken with the disease of terror being clasped by the frightful physical forms of the messengers of Yama. So here it says that, so if one were to create a heavy negativities, or if one were to committed a heavy negative karma, then then one will be punished by the Yama's messengers. So those Yama messengers, they are frightful to look at, and they will, one will be tied by the rope and being led to hell and experience sufferings again and again, not just once, but for 100 years, for 1,000 years, and so forth. So one will experience a great suffering, the suffering greater than the example in which one's limbs will be cut. So and for a longer time. So definitely one needs to generate a stronger fear than the previous example.
그러면 이제 디바 사침복 이 사람한테 나와라 그랬더니 이 사람한테 디지털 그 동안 전부다 디바 첨부 제거 공사 다 무슨 되나 네 뭐만 디바라다 디바 하고 있는 디바 들어와 네 그러면 사태 때 디바 디바 제거 시작할게요.
So with the arising of this great fear, then regret those negativities that one has committed.
어디 올라가는 데다 심마 다 동아지 동안지 있어 심마나 다 동아지 네 동안지 있어 다 동이 식으로 와
동화기
심마 동아지 동아지 영화로 다 빨리 와 심마 뭐 심마
Next outline is how one will be tormented by suffering in the future.
다들 저도 마시나 그것이 진들에다 레버토와 신들지 예샤 팀비 미제네 소진만들 소화시세 거기 점인 통에는 이네 근도 유문제스 이네 점인 많이나 이제 답이 다샤세 다딘도
Under this outline, there are two verses, verse 44 and 46. Sorry, 45 and 46. So who can afford me good protection from this terror? With terrified, bulging eyes agape, I shall search the four directions for refuge. Then, seeing no refuge in the four directions, I shall become enveloped in gloom. If there should be no refuge there, at that time, what shall I do?
다들 대대들 간다로 와 다간다만 무슨 치기스로 오라 다간다 와 난 치기스 간다 아 니래 냐와라 마치를 다 와서 랭에 마치사로 와 치기스 냐와 치니 要是我的去工作习惯呢，就接触一点对，其他做的那些我们对就继续的继续是看待几把情况就是继续是吧？那当然吧，就另几把情况就给了把就那说说看，那两个就把你对对是了，我那啥，他的这个在里边的话，给那是你到小这而且那个当你的情况上的上路了，这个都会把然后的你错，你错的，你错的，他当然就会抗击是抗击他还有是吧？就会去，然后呢，别讲他继续的这些呗，你中国的干，别讲他继续的社会的给会有嘛，这到底是会有嘛，会有嘛，是说人家嘛啥子的话，人家嘛是的，要不要会有嘛，也是我，错极了呗，叫错吧，那叫做什么嘛，也是，那么这些是吧？
Who can afford me good protection from this terror? So at the time of death, that due to the accumulations of negative karma, one will be born in hell. And when one sees those frightful hell guardians, and one will be in great terror and looking at them with your bulging eyes, and then out of fear, one will shout, "Who will save me?" And even though if you go and search for refuge, but you will not be able to find one. So one will not be able to find refuge due to that one has already accumulated the negative karma.
我感到现在人经常对的要让被中给去，所以我在被你接触啊，结果的时候啊，你个叫抽起了被，感到也准备是了的，成为对呢，他所说的被虽然马上吧，你不么叫来查清楚，啥吧影响，那感到讲的是讲的，感到讲的是通途要嘛的是，讲的是通途要嘛的，讲的是通嘛都要的，马上就这个子呢。那所说的虽然马上吧，你把查清楚대왕 그때 그다음 이게 레지남 리부터 이게 내서와 내서에 됐죠 거기라고 요 말했어 자존이 진짜 수강지 하라고 요 말했어 근데 말아 선사 근데 말아 선사 근데 무슨 통에 요거 뭐 이렇게 껴서 그냥 양이 지는 인조스라니 그렇게 하는 거지 다 무슨 이다가 자스도
No.
그다가 자 다 간단하네 그래서 한번 자스 했어
So we search in the four directions for refuge, and however, due to lack of merits and due to the accumulations of great negativities, uh, one do not see, so one doesn't find the objects of refuge because the ripening results of those karma has already ripened. So and not being able to find a refuge, then think that one will not be able to find refuge in such situation. So with great suffering and with great terror, then now go for refuge, since from the depth of one's heart.
다다다네 그 고조로 장로 제거래 안에 장로 제거래 마도 반 그다스나 냐이니 니 지발에 저게다 안에 자요 말했어 냐이니 되라 나서서 그 레진 되고 니사 그거 레서와 레서데 레블레서데 도타요 레블레서데 도타 자원이 요마 된 레블레나 도스나 레치서 가도 그러고 레치서 가 차도 어디서다 아니 되라 간다 지발에 저기 자요 마이나 디디 이제 다게 지답차 지야 메바 선사 다다니 인기바라 자유기라 메시지는 선사 사고 있어 와 다다니 인기바라 인기바라 자유 줄라 메시지는 선사 사고 있는 다다다 다다 이제 참아 이거 했어
So we sincerely go for refuge in the three jewels. If not, if one were to born in hell due to the ripening of those negative karma or those negativities, then one will not be able to find refuge in hell, and there's no way that one can reverse the ripening result of those negative karma, but to experience them. Thus, now I should sincerely, from the depth of my heart, go for refuge in the three jewels and put effort in accumulating merits that will free me from these fears. So now we have the time and we have the opportunity to do so. Thus, we should put effort in accumulating merits and free oneself, and accumulating merits, so that one will be free from such fear. So with strong regret that if one were so one has accumulated those negative karma, and one should with strong regret, one should regret those negativities. So one should one should strongly regret for having done those negative karma that will result in hell rebirth. Therefore, with this strong regret, strive in or work hard in put effort in the objects of adoptions and work so one should generate regret for having done those negative karma that will result in hell rebirth. So with this strong regret, put effort in the objects of adoptions and abandonment of virtues and negativities, in order to free oneself from those fear. So the meaning here is to work hard at the objects of adoptions and abandonment with regard to virtue and negativities, in order to free from such fears. So this completes the power of regret. So next we will talk about the power of reliance. And power of reliance, there are 3 points, or there are sub-3 divisions. And the first one is relying on the refuge of 3 jewels from now onwards. And the second one is relying on bodhisattvas who have the power. Relying on bodhisattva who has the power of prayer or aspirational prayer. And the third one is having gone for refuge, accomplish in accordance with their words.
다 좋아서 또 시오리 이 생기다 이 상지 되니라 내가 이거 상지로 와 내가 그래 살로 손장 아주 뭐 살 같이 주셔서 살마 개발아 사실 될라 되냐 당고 그래서 알아 살 만져발라 사실 될라 되냐 당고 뭐 실로 그때 생질라 이게 디바사바들 다시 생질라 미네 내가 참지 세 세고니 이게 생질지 제가 산 주세 이제 봐 이게 상질라 되 산 디바사바들 상질라 장로지 어다든지 나 핑이 또 들어가 그 생신이 있어 나와야 돼 어느 분이 있어 봐
Penny na de tu bobo la kwa ro.
어찌됐든 우리 누가 그걸 보러 하필이 또 와서 이렇게 짠도 제발 생체 공부하서 와 그래서 짠도 이렇게 생체 공부를 했다 땡기다 그래서
So when we talk about this power of reliance, in general, when we talk about reliance or basis, so this basis in general context refers to the practitioner themselves. And in the context of power of reliance, then it refers to taking refuge and cultivating bodhicitta. So taking refuge, and when we talk about this power of reliance, then it refers to taking refuge and cultivating bodhicitta is because these sentient beings and Buddha are the basis upon which we accumulate negativities. So, like for example, in relation to sentient beings, then we accumulate negativities. Then sentient beings being one of the bases upon which, or in relation to which, we accumulate negativities. So similarly, we also accumulate negativities in relation to to Buddha, Buddha. So therefore, the basis in relation to which we accumulate negativities are included in these two sentient beings and Buddha. So it's just like the example that I've mentioned before. If one were to fall on the ground, then one has to get up depending on the ground as well. So similarly, if one were to accumulate negativities in relation to sentient beings, so one has to cultivate bodhicitta upon observing sentient beings. And if one were to accumulate negativities in relation to Buddha, then one has to take refuge upon observing Buddha.
하디마 다다니네 부주스니 잘라 템바 하디마 시레더와 하라니 부주스니 잘라 템바네 잘라 템바 다 자와데 이 더원 루인기 로 쪽에 대해서 또 지지 또 대해서 그 가서 그 지지 그인지 버스와도 자주 숨기 쳐라야 되게 하는 그 이제 다들이도와 시로거니도와
So under the first subdivision, relying on the refuge of three jewels from now onwards, there are two verses under this outline, verse 47 and verse 48. Therefore, from today onwards, I go for refuge to the victors, the protectors of migrating beings, who strove for the purpose of protecting migrating beings, and with great power eradicate all fear. Likewise, I perfectly go for refuge to the Dharma that I have realized, that clears away the fears of secular existence, and also to the assembly of Bodhisattvas.
다다시 공부 시방아서 нем부신 집에 또서 нем부신 만다 넘버신 집에 또 그래서 뭐 같은 일만 되어 이거를 이가도 같은 제가 더 지어야 돼. 난 모두라 맞지 살 제라 왜 잡자야 저기 말 이게 와. 자 많이 받을 인생 가르치나 사람이 레지 남이 레거든. 그 콜라 미차리 내가 간다. 내 마다고 그때 잡서나 니야 그럼 이거 그래서 손에 니야요. 그래서 니야 매와 선사 상상이나 가서 먼저 짠로 지야. 그다음에 더 달리고도 되더라. 이제 데이터는 야와 노영 공부 와 탕진 쪽에 그래도 간다 집발에 쪼두고 중앙 쓰는다 그다 상지분이 그래서 대사지 분들 해서 와 상지분에도 간다 이제 계속 해봐 야 이나 규제 질문 이거는 무슨 나중에 그렇게 들어서 와 계속 해봐 돼 계속 해주지 와 어디 엄청 많지 나 상지분들 계속 와 이게야 상지 군주 대기 무슨 주비 주비도 되게 상지 그런 거 그러니까 주지 취해야 돼. 네, 된다. 취해도 때는 거의 집봐요. 세워지는 주고. 와, 주군요. 네, 주군요 되게 뭔가 이런 거 막, 이게 무슨 근데 그죠 좋아 근데 그죠 어다 근데 그죠 되게 내가 간다 근데 그죠 나 비비다 도스 그 그죠 맞아 자우에서 거로 선지 그죠 잡던 거 좋아 그 그죠 나 비비다 지역이 자우에 아간다 근데 그죠 나 우리 잡 나도 다 같이 취해서 어다때 나도 들리지 캐내네 그 선지를 잡고 선지를 잡던 거 보고 왜다 친구들 잡고 나랑 비비다 지역 자우에 되다 선지를 잡던 거보다 다 자주 근데 그죠 때 조서天狼 오늘 어쩌면 다 군조선 잡았죠.
So, so this outline is relying on the refuge of three jewels from now onwards, right? And this is related to the power of regret because, as mentioned, so due to the accumulations of negative karma, when those negative karma ripen, and one falls into hell, so one falls in hell realms, and since one's karma is impure, so therefore, even if one were to search for refuge in hell, one will not be able to find it. So, in relation to this, therefore, one has to go for refuge in the three jewels from now onwards. So, in the Lamrim, we also talk about the three jewels, and we also talk about these three jewels are worthy of going for refuge. So, since they are already mentioned uh, since all those reasons why they are worthy of going for refuge are mentioned in Lamrim, so I will not go through it here. So here it says, to the victors, the protectors of migrating beings. So the victors refers to Buddha jewel, and to the Buddha jewel, and then likewise, I perfectly go for refuge to the Dharma that I have realized. So it indicates the Dharma jewel that I have realized and teach to sentient beings, and also to the assembly of bodhisattvas, and this indicates the Sangha jewel. Those bodhisattvas who have attained Arya state of Arya. So Buddha jewel is the teacher of refuge. Dharma jewel is the actual refuge, and Sangha jewel are a companion for accomplishing refuge. So having accepted them as they are, so having accepted Buddha jewel as a teacher of refuge, having accepted Dharma jewel as the actual refuge, and having accepted those bodhisattvas who have attained the state of Arya as the those Sangha jewel as the companion for accomplishing refuge. Then we practice refuge. So this is how we practice refuge. We accept them as the teacher, as the actual, and as a companion for accomplishing refuge.
我这里的ngabune dzimpo gada lijibone yela neba chia la lo soche ba so ni joa lijibone soche ba la so o di so pang es e di se pa ba ne di se soche ba la so jeben jeben duna ja che mo ni es e de lijin ma ta kanda lingwa yi so ge to ba ta ne se so es ta ma sanji ku ju ma cha te wo ta ma cha te ma ko sa tu ma ta ma so di la ta che to a la ta che ka na di la ta che la ma so ये मत नहीं होती नाचुक ले तांबो आगे उन्हें जिम्पो आता सोचे बापू है吧 ये ना नैसे पो ती चुगुन जो मतलब ले तांबो चुगुन जो नहीं तेरे तेरे बो आ तेरी मतलब वो गेंदी की तांबो जो गिगिन ला सब तो सो ये का का गिगी पॉइंट पॉइंट का गिगी ये गिगी ये गिगी चेक से तांबो जो वो चिया लाया था 와, 그리 그 괜히 다다 내가 뭐 가서 그러다 서서 얘기를 하고 되게 와, 근데 냐는데 지하는 디바 뭐래 그래서 그래서 내한테 제보를 해야지 근데 그 그럼 되지 와, 당 가서 상지가 맞게 돼서 와 상지가 돼서 와 that the little so be let on board. But that zipon is a sort of is such a point, zipon, zipon, but that such a point. But that's such a point, such a point, such a point, what zipon is it? No point, it's in there. How the children let on board children was there. So let on board. Let on board children got on. No, the children was showing the children just share with you. Was a whole lot of people. They were what? Oh, so let on board one of the children. Was there for the July money, jail, I think. When is it? Zipon, sitting lady. Zipon, sitting lady, children. Such a one sitting here. The money children to try to let on board. What? Yeah, she not necessarily. What? Necessarily, take it sitting. Oh, that thing also let them go. Money children to the channel.
So for a beginner like us, then the actual the Dharma jewel will be like this. So uh, those that would those that were taught by Buddha, by the teacher. So are those morality of abandoning the 10 non-virtues. So this morality of abandoning 10 non-virtues, they are taught by Buddha jewel. So, for example, physically we abandon killing, and verbally we abandon telling, we abandon abandoning lying, and mentally we abandon harmful intention towards others. So these are the morality of abandoning these non-virtues, telling lies, killing, and harmful intentions. So, and the teacher also taught that if one doesn't abandon these non-virtues, one will experience the result of suffering. So these are that's why we say that the teacher, that's why we say the Buddha jewel are the teacher of refuge, because the Buddha jewel this morality, uh, taught this morality to disciples, so that as a beginners, then we can practice this Dharma jewel. So these are Dharma jewels for beginners. So in text, when we talk about Dharma jewel, then it refers to a cessation and path. And however, as a beginner, the Dharma jewel will be the morality of abandoning 10 non-virtues, such as physically, verbally, and mentally abandons those non-virtues, such as killing, lying, and also harmful intentions. And together with one's spiritual friends, teachers, lama, and etc., so give advice to us that one should practice this and one should abandon this and that. So these are the three jewels. These are the three jewels. One is the Dharma jewel that were taught by the Buddha jewel, and together with the Sangha jewel, such as one's spiritual friends and lamas and teachers.
Oh, dear. Also,我的我就工作来是为了是吧？讲我的，我你这我是全工作的所说的，原来检查完了，啊，我那厂里地基造的，地上地基造的，地基造的我那头大看的，是吧？全工作所说原来结的地基造我那个业务，第从啥我说，那我说，上头的叫电报过来，原地的我叫这个大众，哦，是吧？啊，我呢，叫电报不的。要对不打住点你了点的，但说给他刚才全部就进来接给，刚才本身去年，全部就去了，但是工作习惯哪些，我说来担保，我呢没给去帮我指定，我说的没给去帮我指定的，我呢当年我做你担保，全部我呢得下头的。
So for a beginner, the actual Dharma jewel to be generated in one's mind stream is the morality of abandoning 10 non-virtues. So if one is able to generate in one's mind stream the Dharma jewel, as I mentioned just now for a beginner, which is the morality of abandoning 10 non-virtues, then one has really attained the root of the happiness. So the Buddha being the teacher of refuge, and the Sangha being the companion for accomplishing a refuge. So with uh, all of this come together, then as a beginner, try to develop in one's mind stream the Dharma jewel, which is the quality of non-virtues.
어디 오는 것들다. 맨날 소진이 제이스 바세. 지마 아이슈르와. 지미마서. 맨날 소진이 제이스 팀바세. 그게 와. 어디 떠와. 난 지피모는 리군도 상나 다니 미야나 다니지. 다게 리도와 이피지 제거만 이피레스도 내가 그냥 당하고 그런데 그래서 이도와 어디 주로가 로 지피 쳐서 와. 여기만 된다 싫어.
So next outline is relying on bodhisattvas with the power of prayers. So verse the 차장 de loin ba de loin. So the relevant verse is verse 49 and first three lines of verse 50. I terrified offer myself to Samantabhadra. To Manjughosha also I offer my body. To the protector Avalokiteshvara, unmistakably acts with compassion. I utter a mournful cry. Please protect this wrongdoer.
어디는 가다 대다 도도데 매놈도 제이스라 때가 제이스에서 나가서 자주심 봐. 나가서 대 간다 대 가서 간다 대 지가 되노라. 간다. 그래서 근도 상보다 이제 연비하다 제이스 소와 제이스 소나 간다. 그래서 배열에 딱 간다 제이스에서 딱 거기서 산세 이게 그게 그래서 좀 간다. 그래서 내 시기에 간다 가서 산세 사주바이 장세 사주바. 와 사주바. 어다 제이스. 다들 간다 도도데 다 자주심 봐 대소나. 로이 다는 로이 지발라 가나 짠이 로 저 로이 동아 지발라 짠 매랑도 도지 같이 쉬인 봐 어가 군도 상보다 가서 매랑다 와 매랑다 최비게 또 응어스 간다 하수수도 그때나 내가 매랑 와 그때 아버지는 거 아빠 마무 증언을 소소 그때 매랑도 니봐 안 되지 그 sen지기 되어줘야 뭐 소소 변박 마야 근데 이 건가다 소소 메시지 노예 좋아 메시지 이거래 예술다 군도 상보셔야 돼 근데 배기 또라 멀음지 또 집에다 멀음지 또 알아서다 모두 다 찾아와 아주 진짜 나 그러니까 나그 리도 우리 있어와 그래서 뭐라 나그 리도 랑 집안에 도와서가 데레 저기서 나그 리도 있어 나 진짜 미안해 하나 신지 꼬아 많이 봐 나랑 그 세상이 돈이 나그 리도 진짜 미안해 있어 좋아 세상 나 대마세 hinju chuwa kanda beme hindu kutone ta jimu cheba hindi sinji gela pa tsewa da inji pe rosu tiga wa jeris wa jeris da ninje da rosu la tan jimbi jambiya da kan chera pila se ko wa o da dila da kusi ni ko nis wa o de jibale ya jona da joye chena da dile da
Under the outline of relying on bodhisattvas with the power of prayers. So in these two verses, three bodhisattvas were explicitly mentioned. So Samantabhadra, Manjughosha, Protector Avalokiteshvara. So besides these three bodhisattvas, and basically it also includes the eight closest sons of Buddhas, or in other words, are eight great bodhisattvas, and also those bodhisattvas on the 10th ground. So to Samantabhadra, I offer my body to Samantabhadra. So Samantabhadra is the deity in relation to aspirational prayers and offering, due to the prayers that they made many eons ago. And to Manjughosha. So Manjughosha is the deity of wisdom, and to the protector Avalokiteshvara. So Avalokiteshvara is the deity of love and compassion. So to and who spontaneously and uninterruptedly worked for the welfare of sentient beings, then I offer my body to them, to Samantabhadra, to Manjughosha, and to Avalokiteshvara. So, and please save me from these fears.
어디로 와 어디 가서 정신이 세제나데 무슨 뭐 소리다 손하다 아젠데스다 근데 선보다 디로와 비야 다만도 된다 이제 그래서 원시 근데 선보다 간다 저거다 매nom지 위상서는 저거다 매nom지 장수를 하되 다시 가서 근데 선보시와 매nom 하되 장수 근데 선보래 지진 야비에서 와는 가서 다 간다 싫었지 싫었대는 소리가 싫었대는 소리가 가서 그거와 어쨌든 지진 장비에 가서 와대 이치 와 자, 이제 봐봐 진리에서 가서 인지 그거와 인지 그러면서 인지 그러면서 근데 봐봐 자기 봐봐 진리에서 어때서 이렇게 어때서 그냥 저 비에 들도 뭐 뒤지 저 비에 그러죠.
So here, these two verses says that I offer my body to Samantabhadra, to Manjughosha, and to Avalokiteshvara. So Samantabhadra is a deity that is the embodiment of offering and aspirational prayer. And Manjushri is the deity of wisdom. In other words, is a deity that is the embodiment of wisdom. And Jerezi, or Avalokiteshvara, is the deity of compassion, or in other words, is a deity that is the embodiment of compassion.
that is that they will not do that. 난 집이 냥한테 말로 원대 배봐세. 진짜 이제 나와서 다 된다 들려도 냥한테 말로 원대 딱 이게 어디가 간다 누가기 비교와 비교와 어디 있어도 막 비대 더 없자서 어번는 비님보다 사인님보다 다는 이제 지금 당비를 짜서 원대 아예 보는 기기 번야라서 당원 라는 쇼부 예시비 도저히 지금 잡수 있어. 어디 그러고 니다 지키고 좀 지키고 나들만 된다 쉬고
So we just now under the outline of relying on bodhisattvas with the power of prayer. So it's up to here, up to this point. Then next outline is prayer in despair out of fear. Then it's from here to verse 52. Please protect this wrongdoer. In my search for refuge, I cried from my heart to Akashagaba, Sitigaba, and all the compassionate protectors, and I go for refuge to Vajapani, upon the sight of whom all hateful beings, such as the messengers of Yama, flee in terror to the four directions.
다들은 가서 가르쳐 다들만 도도시키는 가서 장세네 세계는 장주스가 수송 아니 자와 공이 기사로 와 다단다들은 가서 장주스만 남기님 사이님 참바 비반나세 하나도 제시 되는 자와들이 와 예와 장주스만 남기님 와 사이님 참바 비반나세 하나도 제 어디가도 와 된다 장세네 세계로 와 어디라 단단히 자와들아 보다 장세 나라 보다 나 디바달라 저도 소원을 믿을 수 없다. 이제는 그래서 디제 나라가 디바들이야 야 저도 소원을 다 소화하고 와 소화들이 들어간다. 계속 보고
This verses basically is to request these 8 great bodhisattvas to save me who am a wrongdoer. So he says, please protect this wrongdoer. Then in my search for refuge, I cry from my heart to Akashagava. So besides Samantabhadra, Manjughosha, and Avalokiteshvara, then these verses also includes Akashagava, Sitigaba, Maitreya, Sava Nivarana Viskambin, and Vajapani. So request these 8 great bodhisattvas, please save me a wrongdoer.
다들 가서 같이 시작을 남기님 못 와. 난 남기님 못 와네. 내가 남기님 못 와서 같은데 남기님 받아서 같은데 쓰여도 네. 그래서 거기 해서 와. 남기님 못 와대. 남기님 못 와대. 남기님 받아 남기님 못 받아서 니 받아서 쓰여기. 와. 쓰여기. 그 다시 가서 거기 남기. 이 차리 그래서 나는 네 세계랑 가서 차사를 저 피부에서 나는 와. 그래서 그러니까 소화단이 특별히 계속 그게 굉장히 와. 다 간다. 난 이거 듣지로 와. 다 되지 사이니 와. 다 사이니 뭐서 와. 是那句摄影的不说的，设计嘛两百的呀，是吧？谁个聚了什么两百呀票？那就是没设计的，说哇，摄影的不说的，设计两百票啊，那说那句行动跟那老多老什么，谁的了什么都那么聚两个，我到底说要拍啊，这样谁的聚了什么，这样拍出来的，那没设计，摄影的不说的呢，对形象有的是我的。
So Akashagaba is a deity in relation to the eliminations of afflictions and faults, and also Siddhikarma. So Siddhikarma is a deity that we request for blessing in order to increase those um, uh, those nourishment in the earth, or those and those nutrients in the food, such as those crops, foods, and etc., fruits and etc. So it's a deity to which we is a deity to which we pray and request for blessing in order to increase those uh, nourishment in the earth and also those nutrients in the food. So those have already have those that have already degenerated. So request for blessing to increase those nourishment and also nutrients that have already degenerated.
第一就是我对强暴的话，强暴之外的感受，他讲的强暴的前面老师吧，像女性老师吧，也是去绝吧，强暴的理解的话，他强暴的理解，像女性老师吧，也是去绝吧，也是绝吧说话，这样子那个就没事情的时候，我你想法的话，也是绝吧，是吧？也是去绝吧说嘛，没事的，他强暴的理解老师吧，对不对？这样的套，这样的。
And Maitreya is the deity in relation to Bodhisattva deeds such as loving kindness, compassion, and bodhicitta.
对吧？啊，第一就是我对吧？一般人是说对吧？一般人是说的，我说，那我是地震中吧了，我自己我就下这个时候的话，地震中吧了，地震中吧了，我下这个也是，是一般人是说，一般的地方用对吧？
And Savanivarana Viskambin is the deity we is a deity in relation to the purifications of negativities and obscurations.
他就是说，这强大的基因呢，按出的泥巴，出的泥巴来没事情，就是我那强大的泥巴，我出的泥巴来没事情，就这是，你说的强势你设计了嘛？说叫什么呢？说的讲究强是吧？
And Vajrapani is the special deity of power and strength. So to 8 great bodhisattvas, we take refuge.
那这些当然我是相信那世界的我才是吧？那得相信那世界的个，但是是吧？那对我来讲，要是呢，给他更新的做法，他上级工作了，上级工作就对他的调整的，他上级去干，哪些那都还是有的话，去干了的，反正你把钱去了调整起来，你把你的收入，那得到那是话的呢，那这个的部分是他讲的钱，我就是呢。
So these verses indicates taking refuge in the 8 great bodhisattvas. And next is the outlines of having gone for refuge, accomplish in accordance with their words. And the relevant verse is verse 53. So previously I transgressed your words, but now upon seeing this great fear, I go to you for refuge. By doing so, please swiftly clear away this fear. So this is under the outlines of having gone for refuge in the three jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, then accomplish in accordance with their words.
他就是呢，给他搞的就是搞是呢，摸吧，帮吧，共济的那是说实话，是那个是跪下的，在朗读念朗读的都是说摸给他，然后呢，我去了呗，这上去想些跟那就看到，就这话前边一个呢，那是地巴了，忘了，有啊，如果什么，就把我送下来的是吧？是吧？他上去的前就是说叫那是吧？跟那个对，那边是升级了，直接长满了吧？就这话前边过呢，这话前边过呢，地巴放下的。 내가 두고야 돼. 방법이 내들이 두고 해. 이제 두서마 가나 자리에서 와 가나 자리에서 그 가나 자리에 서서히 된 이제 맞네 가든가 가게 예 이빠치 내가 마셔 봐 코아라 만타면 봐 그때 용하게 내년도 이빠치 못 통해 년도라지 내년도지 내년도라 동안 zelame pa tali nyuwa de kone ta chira ya so chi nando ni la chi chi ka ji ni ta ta ni du yi ta so se ta da so ta de ta ha da wa o nando ni la chi chi ka yi da ni du ba du yi den chi pa de de ya kya ro chi ni se ta ka da so ta ja so
In relation to this verse, previously I transgressed your words, but now upon seeing this great fear, I go to you for refuge. By doing so, please swiftly clear away this fear. So here it refers to I here, previously I. So I here refers to a person who is ignorant and who is confused with objects of adoptions and abandonment. So uh, yeah. So I transgress your words. So those words are taught by those by Buddhas out of great compassion that you should do this and you should abandon that and so forth. So, however, I transgress your words, but now upon seeing this great fear, I go to you for refuge. Please save me from this fear.
ta de sa wa de wa sa wa ta so wa ta so ne bo sumba ne bo kun de ji to de da ta de ma sa ji ma ta de la du wa lo tu na lo ma tu na sa ji wa ma ka tu sa ji ma ne bo kun de ji to ma ge so wa sumba
자상 로이라.
ne bo kun ji to ma lo da
이거
lo yi de ba do la ni di be ri de je sa ji do wa ta ni de be ri ba ta ta mo de la ya di ba jo je ni do wa ni ji be di ba ni de yang ba yang sa de be yang ba de ma ta ta mo ni ji be di ba ni de yang ba la sun be de ge ba da lu su ji ni mi chi yan jong me ku ba ye ne me ba cho de me sun da du ri ba ha se ta de sa cha de lo de ki na sta
So in relation to verse 53, so I will accomplish according to your words with regard to the objects of adoptions and abandonment. So please quickly save me, quickly remove this fear. Then next is the power of antidotes. So in the power of antidotes, there are two divisions. The first one is the reason uh, one should make effort in purifying negativities, and the second one is one should make effort quickly. And under the first division, the reason one should make effort in purifying negativities. Again, this has two divisions. The first one is one has to uh, quickly purify those negativities with the analogy of sickness. And the second one is indicating that one has to purify with the example or with the analogy of recipes. And under the first outline, that one indicating the need that one has to quickly purify negativities with the analogy of sickness. Again, this has three divisions. The first one is stating example and meaning. And the second one is the sickness of three poisons are great faults, and the, the medicine to destroy them, the medicine to destroy it is rare. And therefore, one should accomplish according to the speech of teacher, the supreme doctor.
对的的个个年纪决定个把的他们的把的切是吧年纪对一般年的讲过吧对吧年纪决定个把但年了背下这背天的把个把的年的天的把讲是吧年纪决定个把他们的嘛切他们年纪那样年龄嘛就下个呢你看是那叫年纪到了那就没事是那个进度啊我的
under the outlines of indicating the need to quickly purify negativities with the analogy of sickness, then the first division is stating example and meaning, right? So under this outline, the relevant verse is verse 54. If I need to comply with a doctor's advice when frightened by an ordinary illness, then one need to mention that it is so when perpetually diseased by the hundreds of faults of attachment and so forth.
어떻게 들어가서 가서 이 그때 개발 가서나 가서 배 먼저 담아 봐 관리기나 용화시 차마냐비 노트 되게라 가 대원 들어와 용화시 차마냐고 하는데 노트 되게라서 어떻게 나사게 배 자라고 지나고 요나 가서 멤버 돼야 돼 멤버 때는 멤버게 배 그런 쥐어나 디비지 나사들라 가다 쥐어나 디비지 모두 사야 디비지 사고도 토야 디비지 또 모두 게 사초고 모두 게또 주고 모두는 member card, no, that Taran need to actually Palan Yini Taran, Jonathan, Saya, I didn't Taran in Luya, this one. Taran in Luya card, Jessica, so near the Shinachi. Nathalie, Shinachi, Shimons, Chilmons, this Shinachi, Lua. That Dilpe Shinachi, Takanda, member of the lot, Suba Nashi, not the language. You are need to be Tambo Lua, Tambo teach.
By an ordinary illness. So this indicates the example. And so when one falls sick because of the sickness of wind, if one falls sick due to wind, bile, phlegm, and because of imbalance of four elements, so we talk about in Tibetan medicine, it talks about sickness caused by wind, bile, and phlegm. And this happens is because of the imbalance of four elements. So when one is afflicted by such sickness, then we see doctors. And when we see doctors, then we listen to the advice of doctors, fearing that one will be fearing that one would die because of this. One could die because of this sickness. So one listen carefully to what doctor says, that one should eat these and one shouldn't eat these, and one should drink these and one shouldn't drink these, and you should do these and you should not do that, and etc. So one listen carefully to the doctors, fearing that one may die because of this sickness.
I think also, and I don't know about myself, it's okay. Member of my team, love and Nashi to me, like Pakuna. I didn't say it. That's a daily source of Gurwa. That's a daily Zachi, Zadachi Gurwa. And that's a daily Zadachi Garizana. Wow. I'm also, you are still money. Stand up about it. Wow. Shalom to be new pass. In nature was another need to show. The hell of it. New. That's a timber. That's a chimbo digging. So the nearby. Jata Mambo, you need. Nearby. Never side. Jata Mambo, you need. That's it. Need it. Never so we need because now. Wow. That's a day. That's a day. Rules about the nature what they nature what they never jata moment you have need drop with it. Yes, near drop with it. Just a little bit. But the needed Sika Smokawa. That's the Sindajina. Me, who would is that Spekawa Chujis? That's the Passia. Tourist. You know, what do you thought was a bit? But see like Villayori. That's the Siagi. Villayori is a member cho the city is not. That's the Siagi member cho the something in the West. Sanji this or something. That's Sanji to you. Me, that's not the Siagi. Me cho the but that's Sanji like Sanji me. I said, what are you going to member to a Nashi? Sanji was so Galen. Do you not? Nebutin. But you go to with the media. Roa, that the image, member of Sumbanashi media. And that is Sanji. That's a woman when doing but Jata to again. That's a she that Pasiagi. Sanji was Sumbanashi, Nemotini, Nemotin, that's the charge, Nemotation, detention was your a day. What is Sumbanashi? Sanji there? 그 부다 비다데 멤버가 러버 나시까 도는 사지 나와 예pen 예pa 자탄 주야기나 사 디스 투무들레 그 누구가 메주 그래서 뭐라 간다 와 메주 그래서 그런데
If one wants to recover from ordinary sickness, then one has to listen to the advice of doctors. Then likewise, so when one is stricken with a chronic disease, so chronic disease here refers to the sickness of afflictions such as addiction and so forth, that we have been afflicted by such sickness since beginningless time and currently present in our mind. Such uh, uh, chronic serious sickness, so difficult to cure, and it is and they are the origins of hundreds of faults. So in order to cure this sickness, then we have to rely on the supreme doctor that is Buddha. So we have to listen to the advice. We have to listen to the words of Buddha, like applying these antidotes to this and applying this antidote to that and so forth. So we have to accomplish according to the speech of Buddha. So so we have to accomplish according to the words of Buddha. So if one uh, so if one wants to recover from ordinary sickness, one has to listen to the doctor's advice. So if one wants to recover from the chronic disease of afflictions, so definitely one has to listen to the words of the supreme doctor, that is Buddha.
다들 간다 그 군주 멤버가 누가 나시 파니가 어디 산지를 그 수가 나시 답변아 이제 샤워서 보면 내고 무디가 공부해서 와 내가 그냥 무디가 공부해서 산지 그냥 무디가 이 마사지다 아 부러라서 봐 신바 공부야 와 엄마도 세고 공부 뭐 되듯이 내가 간다 아 뭐다 간다 산지 김에 다들 산지 김에 나야 와 멤버 산지 가서 멤버지 산지 김에 좀 표서 또 어디 멤버 좀 들어와
So we have to rely on the supreme doctor, that is Buddha, and we have to rely on the medicine prescribed by this supreme doctor. For example, in the antidotes to attachment is to cultivate ugliness, and the antidote to anger is to cultivate loving kindness and patience and so forth. So these are the medicine, these are the antidotes and also medicine that we have to rely upon. Next outline is the sickness of three poisons are of great faults, and the medicine to cure it is rare. And under this outline, the verse is verse 55. If all the people dwelling in Jambudvipa can be crushed by just one of these, if no other medicine to cure them is to be found in all the directions.
미 좀 쓰려서 대비 손에 신 산책 준비되게 손에 신봐 예 장면지대 완수 가서 봐 야기나서 같은 데 시관지래 요 말해서 한다 또 말해서 들어와 이게 대비 손에 신봐 장면지 되어서 봐 시관지래 예 요 말이냐 요 말해서 어디 되리 So if all the people dwelling in Jambudvipa can be crushed by just one of these, so by just one of these refers to such as anger towards a Bodhisattva, so that would cause all the people dwelling in Jambudvipa to be crushed in hell, and the medicine
the speech of teacher. And such supreme medicine is not to be found in all the directions. So as it says here, and if no other medicine to cure them is to be found in all the directions, means that there is no other medicine than the speech of the teacher that can cure them, that is to be found in all the directions, even in the Brahma realms.
당연히 공로다고 지리다 공로다고 지기 때문에 동차를 공로다고 지 제발에 딱 성공한다 냐와만 왜 레사서라 냐모가 되는 공로다고 지기 당연히 그 제시 샤고나 그래서 누마서 가다 변보서 와다 근데 그 변보 이상 고지에서 나도 저때 공로 수다고 지기 많고 잠불이 줘야 될 소리고 봐 공로 지기 근데 공로 지기 때문에 뭐 참만 줘야서 저거 오다 든디기 누가 상황 줘서 든디기 내가 좀 버렸어 사는 거 와. 든디기 공조 지 든디기 상리 용서도 뭐 줘야다 냐와라 지야기 섭치보스야기 든디기 누가 좀 랍치보 든디기 아들 메디 수기 요르서 내가 파스야기 메시에서 스만기 손신 저 얘기를 좀 하서 때 내가 수 강지를 요 하셔 와. 요 말했어 오다 될 때다
So in relation to these first two lines, if all the people dwelling in Jambudvipa can be crushed by just one of these, so this is something that we can relate to in the modern days as well. So due to one due to one angry thought of a leader of a country, then and because of this, then he can cause disturbance in a country, or even cause disturbance to the whole world. So similar to the example similar to the explanations that I mentioned just now. So due to one anger towards bodhisattvas, it can ruin all the people dwelling in Jambudvipa. So, and the medicine to cure this, such as powerful affliction such as anger, the medicine is the Buddha's speech, and there is no other medicine that you can find in all the direction, not even in the Brahma realm.
다들이다 다 올라가서 멤버 초대비 송다 주지 봐세 그와 어디라 간다 얘라 멤버 단지 지수 못 하는 진바이 그다음에 지세만에 뚱뚱해 예세 예 스노고 진도와
Next outline is one should accomplish in accordance with the speech of the teacher, the supreme doctor. And the relevant verse is verse 56. Then the intention not to act in accordance with the words that can uproot every misery of the all-knowing physician is extremely bewildered and an object of scorn.
다들 다시 공도 맞선 대화를 공부해서와 나간다 연다들이 간다 그래서 신도 봐 소가 nhiệm務데 나서 전부 nhiệm務이 내들 nhiệm務이 내들 세이다 멤버 또 주가 쓰레스나 단지시고 단지시고 산지 뭐 정도 되레스 와 nhiệm務가 단지시 멤버 단지기는 또 주가 쓰레스나 단지시고 단지시고 되게 간다 멤버 나시와 내기 nhiệm務이 숨을 나서 잡고 대파 세야지 미가스나 단지시고 되게 수만나시 이해가 됐어. 빨리부터 수만나시 이해가 되시겠어. 빨리 수만나시 수가 빨리는 지다 수만나시 대도니 임부디 됐어. 맞대. 이거 봐라. 대 마시바. 나와 제바이나. 빨리 나와 제바이나. 빨리 나와 제거 땅 간다. 지금 말에 빨리 나와 지나 보아라야. 그다음에 봤더니 이제 줄라마 그러는 게 무슨 이거 또 랑도 진이나 뭐 내게 좀 신이 소리에서 나가다 찾아와 힘도 또 못지 산지 가나시 가다 가는 수만나시 가다 야래 제마도 랑도 제마도 외시게 내로라마 제네게 또 스레스나 힘도 못지 다 힘도 램바 어떤 소리에서
So the one who can eliminates or who can cure the sickness of afflictions or this is the supreme doctor. So the supreme doctor refers to the all-knowing physician or all-knowing doctor. And the medicine that we have to rely upon is to accomplish the words of the words of the Buddha, the words of the Buddha. So this is relying on the medicine or taking medicine. So is accomplished according to their words, or the words of Buddhas. So and those who will transgress the words of all-knowing physicians are those who are extremely bewildered. Extremely bewildered refers to those who are ignorant, those who are very ignorant, and those who are very dull. Thus, this is the object of scorn or objects of blame, and from the depth of one's heart, so one should practice the words of a teacher with regard to those objects of abandonment and objects of adoptions, and those who transgress the words of Buddha will experience unbearable suffering. Next is the outlines of indicating the need to purify negativities with the analogy of a precipice or cliff. And the relevant verse is verse 57. If I need to be conscientious near a small ordinary precipice, then how much more so near the precipices of long duration that drop for thousands of yojanas. So again, this line indicates the example or analogy. So if I need to be conscientious near a small ordinary precipice, so when one go to a high mountain or when one go near a precipice, then one has to be very careful, right? When you go near a small ordinary precipice, fearing that one might fall off the cliff, right, or fall into the abyss. So one has to be very conscientious, or one has to be very careful when you go near a small ordinary precipice.
로아 바로 이양나서 봐 들라마 산에 공부서 나고 자우스니 비 지난 지나지 예 뒤에 많이 와치 이렇게 봐요 되니 소소 안다 뜻다서 지고요나 다게 빠체 동라 요 동라 망보지다 우리마 이양나 고야기 공부자 마제 동에 제가 뭐 제가 몇 용기야 근데 지라 말 홍도 예 고야기 내가 되라 아 봐요 되니 내가 공부다 무서워 이게 왜 알아야 돼
If one has to be conscientious or careful when go near a small ordinary precipice, then don't mention that if one has the danger of uh, falling into the abyss or precipice of long duration that drop for thousands of yojanas. So the first one is sorry, then this near precipice of long duration that drop for thousands of yojanas. So this indicates the danger of falling into hell. There is a drop of 32,000 yojanas that was due to the three poisons of afflictions. So not only will one fall into the precipice of hell, and one will experience unbearable suffering there for a very long time, so for 1,000 years and even longer. So if there is such a danger of falling into the precipice of hell, there is a drop of 32,000 yojanas in which one will experience unbearable suffering for a very long time, such as a durations of 1,000 years. Then definitely one has to be even more careful and more conscientious.
라디오라 그러니까 다 담보는 이름이 디빈님 뭐 때문에 배워서 다시 보도 싶어 나시 다 너무 뭐 들리기 좋아 빠체 디월 볼 가르기 담보는
Really,
사지 신다만 너무 그거 싶어
맞아.
좋아
음, 음.
나 디린이네 디빈님 뭐라 해봐 다 먼저 단단히 방고지네 뭐 디빈님 뭐라 내가 시작을 해서 와 내가 지금 해서 다시 보도 들면 주다가 레고도 와 디버차 뭐 영상 봐 로 마보지는 용게 되디 그래서 때 마마이나 디피들 많이 못해 그래서 근데 니 못해 뭐 맞다 그리니 단단 많이 못해 그래서 내가 좀 피기나 이제 봐 그리니 디비님 보라 템바라 좀 배워 샤원에 그리 코는 지지 대원 누가 지만 이제 다음에 매번 주의디 되는 되는 상황 중세 어디에 와 어떻게 자원이 뭐 된다 쉬
So in relation to previous outline that talks about practicing antidotes or practicing the objects of adoptions and abandonment that act as an antidote to those negativities. So the next outline is one should put effort in applying antidotes to negativities from now onwards. So not only that you have to accomplish or practice those antidotes, apply those antidotes to negativities, then you have to apply those antidotes to those negativities from now onwards or from today onwards.
다들 간다. 님보다 배우리 했으나 다 시켜주려고 다들 손에로 좀 봐도야 되겠다. 다 님보다 배 다리니나 반 배우리 다 간다. 나와 제마다 산이다 나니 좋아. 다 산이 제라. 니카게 제라 다와 심마제라 로 제마 로 제바이나 다 이대요 말이지 보라. 이미 좀 난진 유니버시티 된다 들리보라. 지기나 상배제 맞아 양자지 이거 림바다 당가서 비하면서 계속요 말이 치자는 가서 거의는 있지 그러면 말 제가 마상 하더라 계속요 제가 자치는 그래서 와 제가 지지와 지나는 그래 내 지와 지나는 내게 바이는 이게 막 제사 안 나와는 말이 해 비어 그래서 와 님바 어때 미소다 나타나 님아서 님보라 이거 뜻으로 님보라 내가 저거 치고 그래서 와 이게 내가 치고 그래서 들으시다
So in relation to this verse, this also indicates the laziness of procrastination. The verse is verse 58. It is inappropriate to stay happily thinking, today alone I shall not die, for inevitably the time will come when I shall go out of resistance. So this verse says that one should put effort in those antidotes and shouldn't be thinking and shouldn't be influenced by or overcome by laziness of procrastination, thinking that I will put effort in antidotes, but I will do it or I will cultivate it next weeks, next few days, next weeks, next month, next year, and so forth. So one should cultivate those antidotes from today onwards, not next month or next week and so forth. And if you think that I will not die today, and therefore do not put effort in antidotes, and do not put effort in antidotes, and this is uncertain because time of death is uncertain. So therefore, one shouldn't think that I will not die today, and thus do not put effort in antidotes. So uh, so if one were to die today, and if one die without having purified those negativities, and due to those negativities or negative karma, then one after that one will be born in no realms. So in general, we talk about three types of laziness. In this context, it mainly refers to the laziness of procrastination that has to be negated. Next outline is there's no reason not to fear suffering. Thus, thus it is one should not be lazy in cultivating path. I repeat, there is no reason not to fear suffering. Thus, one shouldn't be lazy in cultivating path. Under this outline is verse 59. Who will grant me fearlessness? How can I be surely freed from this? If I shall inevitably go out of resistance, how can I remain in mental happiness? So if someone were to ask that, since fear, fear of, since fear of death is not going to help, therefore there is no need to be afraid of. There is no need to be afraid. So if someone were to ask this, or someone has this doubt, then the answer to this doubt or questions is: so since you have seen others pass away, and you have heard others pass away, and yeah, and after that, one will be sorry, and there are a fear of falling into lower realms after that. So who uh, which holy being will grant me fearlessness, saying that there is no need to be afraid of death and negativities. So since I have negativities, and if I do not purify it, then I have to be afraid of those negativities because that will cause me a health birth. So, and if you think that being afraid of those death and lower realms is not going to help, therefore there is no need to be afraid, then who will grant me such fearlessness, saying that there is no need for you to be afraid of death and negativities. So there is no one who will grant me such fearlessness. So if I do not uh, put effort in antidotes, how can I be surely free from negativities and death? And death. How can I be surely free from negativities and death? So, since I will not be free from it, and after death, I will undoubtedly fall into the lower realms. Therefore, I should put effort in cultivating antidotes to negativities, and it is inappropriate for me to stay happy due to laziness, and to quickly sorry and put effort in cultivating those. Sorry, I 講到人家講講講到。So here there is a question, or there is a doubt saying that since being afraid of death is not going to help, then there is no need to be afraid. So if you were to have this doubt, then the answer to this is, so you have seen and heard others have already passed away, and after death there is a fear, there is fear of falling into the lower realms. So who will grant me fearlessness, saying that there is no need for you to be afraid of death and negativities? So there is no one who will grant me such fearlessness. So therefore, if I do not put effort in antidotes, how can I be surely free from negativities and death? So since I will not be free, therefore, I will undoubtedly, yeah, 10 minutes on. Yeah. So since I will not be free, undoubtedly I will be fall. So I will fall into lower realms of the death. Therefore, there is no reason for me not to cultivate antidotes to negativities and stay happy due to laziness.
ngaso ngoma kema ngani na kadi chesare ngaso peba sewade ambo nganda tola njipa chegorese inji meji amu chola njipa chegorese wa ngaso chu jeni jina amu chola cheba wa ma cheba ma tela wa cheba randi tasun kanda manda tola njipa chebachi wa tola njipa chebachi 아도 치와라 저번에 봤지 아도 치와라 저번에 그 저번 리 와.
나도 치와
아도 치와라 저번에 아마 치와라 뭔지 봤어
rapro
오 들었대 아마 치와라 뭔지 봐 랍스 그 저번에 리 타서 좀 치는 와 아무 치와라 뭔지 봤지 봐지 와 맞다 뭐 치와라 뭔지 봤지 아도 치와라 저번에 봐 가만 치와라 뭔지 봤어 다 단다 뒤가도 가서 치와라 뭔지 신세 이런 거 와. 뭔지 봤어 신세 다 소속이 뭔지 봤다 제마 그 거이나 신경에서 가지 요 말해서 간다 되는 들어와. 근데 간다는 나도 주말 아니라서 이 고시고 제보다 한번 치와라 취지하다 한번 치와라 제보 집어 제고 치와라 집어 맞이나 취지고 말 취지고 말 한번 아니라서 들다 한번 되면서 그러게 나와 한번 치와라 집어지 와도 치와라 제반을 같이 소그랬어. 한번 치와라 뭔지 빠지 소도나 당연히 그걸 하지 비자고.
So here, even though he says that who will grant me fearlessness at the time of death, so however, how said no one will grant me such fearlessness, right? So and however, we can make ourselves fearless at the time of death. So even though the words are exactly the same, here he says that who will grant me fearlessness, and how can I be surely free from this? So who will grant me fearlessness at the time of death? So no one will grant me fearlessness. And however, we can make ourselves fearless at the time of death. So when we talk about in Lamrim, I also mentioned about this. So there are three types of practitioners. The practitioners of have three levels. One is the lesser level, the other one is intermediate, and the other one is superior level. Lesser level, intermediate, and superior. So these three levels. So when we talk about the lesser types of practitioners, so one has to cultivate fear at the time of death. So one has to cultivate fear for death. One has to cultivate fear for death. That is the practitioner of lesser level. So because if one doesn't even has fear for death, one will not even engage in dharma. So the practitioner of intermediate level is uh, uh, yeah regret at the time of death. And the third one, which is of superior level, and because I think Machiba, so the Mijibarwa, Rapu. So the practitioners of the superior levels are those who are not afraid or who are fearless at the time of death. So these are three types of practitioners. The first one is one has to cultivate fear for death. If not, one will not even practice dharma or engage in dharma. The second one is the intermediate level. Is one at the time of death there is no regret. And the third one, the supreme or superior one is fearless at the time of death. So here, even though it says that who will grant me fearlessness, so means that it also means that no one will grant you fearlessness but yourself. So you can make yourself fearless at the time of death. No one will grant you such fearlessness.
당한도 단답에 제대로 하는 것도 비가 님 뭐지 그래서 근데 여봐서 칠 지원 드시고 있어라 너무 지원은 집을 지고 해서 얘네 얘네야 너로지 집어진 양의 지원이 받은 여봐서 같이 썼거든 아마 지나 여봐 내에서 지소서 비추지 양의 제도가 그러와 그냥 지나 이제 초라마서 예로와도 만도와 이거 내에서 없이 리스트도 야보셔 그래서 난 담아들 어떤 가딩가 집어이나 지바 신나 지고야 지면 봐 다소 속에 재민세 들라 간다 주두바 냐네 위다고 지바이나 한 지바 지고 말와 오데 데라 다 담보듯이 들어와.
So at the least level, lesser level, one must have fear for death. If not, one will not even practice dharma. And the intermediate level is one has to make oneself not regret even if one dies now. So even if one dies, then one dies without regret. So one has to make that happen. So it means that one doesn't waste time. One practice dharma and doesn't waste time in doing something those meaningless affairs. And the third one, the superior level, is even if I die, then I will die without any fear. So that is of the superior level. So means that one has already practiced dharma purely. Therefore, if death happens, then I will die without fear.
다들 맞아 오브젝트 거래네 도쇼 좋아 도쇼 다다 도쇼 좋아 내 나시 너 이야기 너무 이거야 근데 너게 마음이 이거 잘 와서 우리 논에 이거 와 너가 가서 정말 나리하고 진행지래 방법 나서 저를 집어치는 거지 집어치 제거야 말이야 집어치 마지막에 누구야 말이야 또 집어치는 제 누구야 말이야 집어치 뭐 제가 다 뭐 집어치 뭐 제가 봐 난 집어치 뭐 너무 뭐지 나도 반사 어떻게 너 어디 차오니 난 집어치 올라 최저 마음이 신의 마음이 집어치 다 신의 마음이 나 신의 집어치다 나 줄도 마서스 되니까 난 집어치 올라 가라 봐 너 어디 레서리 나도 저방을 내려 나도 오브젝트 베이스 레고 난 집어치 집어 뭐 레버스 두고 말은 집어치 신나 간디 제노서 당가 취실을 두고 뭐 이런 제도 마선 집어치 안 타망은 시가라 아니 지다라 신나 조제 따고라 주제 도서야 뭐라 주도 반년에 같이 제마도 있는 한근인 지다 신나였다 나 문집어서도요 뭐라 간다 좋아하는 문집어서도요 당근에 근데 그래서 그 노초 로고도아 그다 근데 몸불레도 그때 상관에 개체 무시다래.
So this is something for us to think about, because there are many people who do exactly the opposite of what I have mentioned just now. So we supposed to, at the lesser level, we're supposed to have fear for death in the intermediate, during the on the intermediate level. Then one's supposed to even if death happens, then one will not have regret, right? And of the superior level, then even if death happens, then one will die without any fear. So, however, we do exactly the opposite of it. So, the first, we're supposed to have fear for death. If not, one will not even practice Dharma. So, we do exactly the opposite of it. One doesn't have any fear for death, and thus one doesn't engage in Dharma, or one doesn't accomplish Dharma. And on the intermediate level, one's supposed to die without any regret. So, however, we do exactly the opposite of it. So we spend with lots of regret. And the third one is of the superior level. So when that happens, one's supposed to die without any fear. And however, we do exactly the opposite of it. We died with great terror or great fear.
Bodhisattva Deeds 다 되는 거다 또 신하는 이게 다 또 뭐도 하여 말해 되는 거서 뭐 요 말이지 이 저거 참 어떻게 이치하는 게 제로와 이제 다 지마도 요 말이지 제로와 근데 이 생각서 고시하는 거다.
Yep. So I will stop here. And next class, I'm going to talk about the power of refrain. So, and after that, then we will have some time allocated for question and answer. And after that, then we will have holiday.
아무도 그 이제 들어서 지tem바지 반도와도 그래서 저거 좀 주고 뒤지 또 사죠 받았어. tem바는 뭐 이제 굳이 근데 뭐 쇼 근데 저 엄마한테 니야나서 내가 봐 얘도 또한 잔이 그래 그 위치를 보겠지. 뭐이지. 그렇지.
So we conclude with dedication. We dedicate these fruits of virtue to the flourishing of Buddha Dharma and to the excellent happiness of all sentient beings. We also dedicate these fruits of virtue to all upholders of Buddha's teaching, mainly His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to live eons long, to have excellent health, and may all their holy wishes and enlightened activities spread in all 10 directions and be accomplished instantaneously. We also dedicate these fruits of virtue to our beloved teacher, Kapsha Lama Sopa Rinpoche. May the unmistaken reincarnations of Rinpoche be swiftly returned and continue to turn the way of Dharma for the sake of teachings as sentient beings, so that we will have the opportunity to receive the profound teachings from Rinpoche again. We also dedicate these fruits of virtue to the world peace and happiness.
어디 집에 사백이 어디든 나로 건강한데 나기고 지질로 상도와이 때문에 머리도 세지죠 장조 생조를 보지 마게 바나지 유지 제반여 반스와야 오늘 번호 배워 현자세 바에 지당 제반나 구도 상보디야 대신에 대사 그게 제소 나로지 대와들다 당제라도 어동에 다와리 보지 마게 바나지 유지 제반여 반스와야 오늘 번호 배워 현자세 다와리 보지 마게 바나지 유지 제반여 오늘 건도 배워하시오. 예수도 주변에 지체사세 간제되는 천하빈 모든 생겨서 나서와대 소시되는 조조. 근데 벤데 바딘과 간의 주의 삼매 이신로 가린 수매 생겨서 나서와대 소주시에 도조. 다음에 대바자세니랑 조보상자와의 세규바자랑 자식의 자유 바디네. 근데 바주벽에 소용소 조배 두대를 거지 해도 주변 세배와라 하야무 이슈스배 고자니 수매 지진 남아서와대 벤데 마늘 중에 고지 저의 대담한 정조와의 대다지도 전반세대 노동의 시와시대 이대바 주주에서 진마당 제세나 제도제라고 제도면 제도야 교사비수 계산도 제도도 제조 고의 신강대배 나대와 화리 중에 제레스와 대제자조의 샤비시대바 도대